That night, for the first time in a long while, I was alone. My husband, Anderson, had been away on a business trip for a few days, and without him, the house felt too quiet. I started reading a book, unaware that I had drifted off to sleep. I lay there, sprawled on the bed, the pages still open, the blanket slipping off the edge of the mattress. Only a dim lamp cast a golden glow across the room, its light gently illuminating my skin. Between sleep and wakefulness, I heard the door slowly creak open. At first, I thought I was dreaming. But I wasn't. Liam. He stood at the doorway, the cold white light from the hallway outlining his figure, sharpening the angles of his face. His broad shoulders slumped slightly, making him look both older and younger than his 19 years. His black t-shirt clung to his chest, and damp curls stuck to his forehead as if he had been caught in the rain on a warm night. Droplets of water dripped from his chin, leaving tiny marks on the wooden floor. And he was looking at me. His gaze flickered over my nightgown, where the strap had slipped off my shoulder. Just a few seconds, maybe longer. My pulse quickened. With a swift motion, I pulled the blanket over myself, but it was too late. I could feel the trace his eyes had left on my skin. "Aunt Clara," he said, his voice low, almost a whisper. Hearing him call me that, it always felt unnatural. Liam was the son of my ex-husband Anderson's cousin. His father had married my sister, which, in some convoluted way, made him part of my family. But he had never truly felt like part of it. At least, not until last summer. One day, he had suddenly appeared at my doorstep, a backpack slung over one shoulder, his eyes shattered. My parents' divorce was messy, he had said. I hadn't asked what he meant. I had simply let him in. And from that day on, Liam had become a part of my life. And now, here he was, alone in my room, in the middle of the night. A chill ran down my spine, but not from the cold. "Why are you here?" I whispered. Before Liam could make things even more complicated. "Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications. I promise, by the end of this story, you'll be holding your breath, ready to comment." Liam took a step forward. I heard the faint creak of the wooden floor beneath his weight. "I couldn't sleep," he said. His voice was deeper now, rougher at the edges. And that's when I realized, he was no longer a boy. When he looked at me, there was no innocence left in his eyes. There was something darker. Something deeper. "I kept thinking about things," he murmured. His words hung in the air, growing heavier in the silence between us. And in that moment, I knew exactly what he was thinking. Because I had thought about it too. When we stood too close in the kitchen. When our fingers brushed by accident. When his gaze lingered on me for too long. When he sat alone on the balcony late at night, and I caught him watching me from the terrace, his cigarette burning like a tiny, furious star. That ache in my ribs when he accidentally called me Clara instead of Aunt Clara, and blushed. I remembered those moments too. But they were supposed to be buried. Forgotten. "Liam, you shouldn't be here," I said. I said it, but my voice wasn't as firm as it should have been. Liam slowly sat down on the edge of my bed. The mattress dipped under his weight. And right then, something inside me cracked. I turned away, but I could feel his breath against my skin. His damp jacket brushed against my blanket, sending a shiver through me. "You're shivering," I said, though I was the one trembling. "Yeah," he whispered, but his voice sounded like a smile. His fingers reached out, gently picking up a stray strand of hair on my cheek, tucking it behind my ear. As he did, the tips of his fingers brushed along my jawline. My breath hitched. I knew how wrong this moment was. But the rest of me was on fire. "Liam," I said his name. But I wasn't sure if it was a warning or an invitation. His thumb traced the edge of my lower lip. "I've wanted to do this since the day I got here," he admitted. His confession hung in the air, bare and dangerous. Outside, thunder tore through the night. And for just a second, I wondered if we would survive whatever happened next. Tonight was different. Liam was here. Inside my room. Sitting at the edge of my bed. Looking at me. There was a storm inside him, I could feel it. But the worst part was, there was a storm inside me too. I looked at him, trying to steady my breath. The sound of rain echoed through the room, pulling us deeper into the night. Liam's shoulders slumped slightly. His eyes were tired. But at the same time, they were waiting for something. I feel bad, I said slowly. And I feel lonely. Liam looked away. But he didn't say a word. I could have acted like the adult. Like the responsible woman. I could have played the role of the caretaker. But deep down, a part of me knew, this moment meant something to me too. You can sleep here tonight, I said, keeping my voice steady. Maybe having someone beside you will help. Liam hesitated. His face flickered with surprise. And then that hesitation vanished. He nodded. Slowly. Really? I swallowed. Yeah. That would be good for you. But what I felt inside had nothing to do with what was good for him. I framed it in my mind as helping. As comforting a lonely boy. But the truth was, this was my escape from loneliness, too. Liam was young. Strong. A stranger in a way. Not truly family. Sharing this night with him felt like unlocking a forbidden door inside me. There was a voice inside me saying no. But there was another voice, deeper, more dangerous, whispering yes. When he lay down on the other side of the bed, the space between us felt like a barrier. But it wasn't enough to stop what I was feeling. I closed my eyes, trying to steady my breath. But I could feel his presence in every cell of my body. Would tonight last forever? Maybe, for now. But whatever was meant to happen, it wasn't over yet. In the morning, when I woke up, the space beside me was empty. My eyes opened. My breath quickened. For a moment, I sat up, my nightgown askew, the strap slipping even lower off my shoulder. I sat there, motionless. What had happened? A sudden doubt bloomed inside me. Could I stop this? Clara, I whispered to myself. Firm. Sharp. This couldn't happen. It shouldn't happen. But the excitement surging inside me at the mere thought of it was undeniable. I quickly adjusted my nightgown. I couldn't think about this. He had slept beside me. Yes. But that was it. Nothing had happened. Nothing had happened. Then the door creaked open. And I saw Liam step inside. He was wearing nothing but a towel. Droplets of water trailed down his chest. His hair was damp. His face unreadable. Calm. I sweated a lot this morning, he said, running a hand through his wet hair. The edge of the towel shifted slightly beneath his fingers. Did you come to my room last night? He asked. You must have been really out of it. Thanks for taking care of me. My eyes stayed on him. That's all? That's all? A small wave of disappointment rippled through me. But I pushed it down. He had seen me. He had seen the way I slept last night. The way my nightgown had shifted. The way I looked in bed. He had seen everything. And that thought sent a strange, tangled mix of shame and excitement through me. Forcing myself to act normal, I looked away and smiled. It's fine, Liam. It doesn't matter. But that was a lie. It was all part of the game. And I wasn't sure how much longer I could keep playing. Liam is still here, still by my side, but this morning, I woke up and found him gone. Seeing him step out of the bathroom and talk as if everything was completely normal planted a seed of doubt in me. Did he truly not remember, or was he pretending to forget? There was only one way to find out. Alcohol. I planned a night that would help him relax, make him vulnerable, and reveal whatever he was hiding. They say honesty lies on the tongue of the drunk, and tonight, I wanted to see Liam's tongue loosen. As night fell, I went to the kitchen and picked one of the strongest drinks, Anderson's black amber whiskey, the one he kept for special occasions. It had been collecting dust on the shelf. When I walked into the living room with it, Liam was sitting on the couch, immersed in the TV. He wore one of his casually attractive t-shirts, his legs stretched out in front of him, looking comfortable. But I wanted to see him truly unwind. "Why not relax a little tonight?" I said, raising the bottle in the air. Liam arched an eyebrow at me. He smirked slightly, but there was hesitation in his eyes. He never really liked drinking. I shrugged. Sometimes, rules need to be broken. He studied me for a moment. In that instant, we both knew we were playing a game, but in the end, which side would win? He exhaled and sank deeper into the couch. "All right, Clara. In that case, pour me a glass." I filled our glasses. The first sips were strong and burning, but as the conversation flowed, so did the drinks. Soft music played in the background as we started with the usual topics: life, future plans, his house, his family. But slowly, as the glasses emptied, the topics deepened. Liam's eyes were warmer now. He had relaxed, and I was ready. I downed the last drop in my glass, feeling something inside me completely unravel. That night, the alcohol and emotions that had echoed inside me for far too long could no longer be contained. I set my glass on the table and locked eyes with Liam. He didn't look away either, but something had changed in his gaze: hesitation, anticipation, maybe even fear. "Do you remember last night?" I asked slowly. Liam's hand froze around his glass. His breathing subtly quickened. That was the reaction I wanted. He looked away, but I wouldn't let that happen. I leaned in slightly, the space between us almost disappearing. "Liam," I said, my voice unsteady from the whiskey. "Tell me the truth." Liam swallowed hard, then finally lifted his head and met my eyes. "Clara," he said, his voice almost a whisper. His eyes burned like fire, but he didn't look away. "You remember, don't you?" I pressed. "Are you pretending to forget, or do you really not remember?" Liam parted his lips but said nothing. That empty silence burned inside me. I had had enough. "Of course, you remember," I whispered. "That's why you won't look at me." Liam took a deep breath and ran a hand through his hair. Finally, he turned his head toward me. "I remember," he said. His voice was quiet, but the words were unmistakably true. My eyes narrowed slightly. The suffocating weight inside me faded into something closer to satisfaction, but it wasn't enough. I wanted more. "Last night felt normal, didn't it?" I said. "Having me beside you didn't feel strange." Liam frowned. "In that moment, it didn't feel strange." "And now?" I asked. A short silence. Liam couldn't look away from me anymore. "Now, it feels wrong," he said, his voice sharper. "Now, you're pushing me, Clara." His voice held frustration, but there was something else too, something vulnerable. And that was exactly what I wanted to hear. The heat inside me grew stronger. Liam clenched his fists, then released them, struggling to steady his breath. But he stepped closer. "What do you want, Clara?" he asked, his voice hoarse and exhausted. "Do you want to humiliate me more? You remember last night, don't you?" I challenged. "You acted like nothing happened. It was normal then, so why isn't it now?" At that moment, I saw Liam completely exposed before me. There was a kind of defeat in his eyes, but at the same time, something inside him was fighting. I let the fire inside me take over. Pressing my hand against the table, I locked eyes with him. "Clara," he said, his voice trembling with anger. "Did you get me drunk just to do this to me?" His eyes remained locked onto mine, searching, trying to understand, but it was too late for thinking. Without hesitation, I leaned in and kissed him. The kiss was an explosion of every repressed emotion. At first, Liam froze. But then, his hands instinctively moved to my waist, as if he wanted to push me away, but he didn't. He was fighting himself, but I was winning. The night was heading in an entirely different direction, and we both knew it. I suddenly pulled away, breathing unevenly. Grabbing the whiskey bottle from the table, my fingers tightened around the glass. I took another sip, feeling the familiar burn spread through me. But this time, it wasn't just the whiskey setting me on fire. Without breaking eye contact with Liam for even a second, I took slow, deliberate steps back toward the couch. My movements were careful, measured. I realized I was trembling, but not because of the alcohol. I sat down, placed the bottle beside me, and felt the lingering warmth in my hand from holding it. Then, without a second thought, I slipped the strap of my dress off my shoulder, letting the fabric fall. My eyes remained on Liam, a challenge, a game. But beneath it all, a certainty. "You always liked things to move fast, didn't you, Liam?" I whispered. Liam froze, his eyes locked onto me, watching my every move. His chest rose and fell rapidly, as if the weight of this moment had crashed into him like a shockwave. Then, slowly, he stepped toward me. His hands pressed against the armrest of the couch. His knees touched mine as he leaned in. His breath was warm, deep. Something inside me trembled. But retreating wasn't even a thought in my mind. We were drunk, but that only encouraged us. Liam didn't step back. He moved forward. He met my eyes, and I felt something immense inside me, a warmth I had been craving. Liam looked hesitant. I had pushed him too far. But I didn't care anymore. If anything, his hesitation only excited me more. Liam liked things to move fast. And they did. My body trembled with anticipation. I gasped, his name escaping my lips. "Liam." It felt incredible. My voice shook. I looked into his eyes. "Liam, this feeling is overwhelming, beautiful beyond words." "Thank you." He remembered last night. I smiled softly. I was going to say, "Isn't it a little too late now?" Liam let go completely. Warmth flooded me, and I felt myself falling for him. Drunk and exhausted, he fell asleep right beside me. I took another sip of whiskey and watched him, thinking about us. Thinking about what would happen next. Just enough to excite me even more. If you've read this far, I know my story has touched you. Don't forget to follow, turn on notifications, and leave a comment so you don't miss more. I can't wait to hear your thoughts. And please, don't forget to like.